Signs of passive aggressive behavior and how to deal. Welcome to How Not to Suck. I'm your host, Dana Sanchez, and it's Emotional Wellness / Intelligence Week on How Not to Suck. And today we are going to tackle what would arguably be one of my biggest pet peeves, and that is the unhealthy behavior of passive aggressive behavior. Now, in all fairness, we all partake in a little passive aggressive behavior from time to time, and probably without even realizing it. So I'm not nitpicking here, but if it's a pattern, let's say, that you are dealing with in your life, whether it's someone that you're in a relationship with, someone at work, maybe a family member, whatever, we're going to just decipher what passive aggressive behavior looks like. Just a brief overview, and then a couple tips on how to deal. I happen to be an expert in this, unfortunately. So strap in, shall we? Here we go. See, here's the thing about passive aggressive people is that you just can't have an honest conversation with them. I mean, they don't want to be direct, and they do everything that they can to basically avoid any kind of direct, honest, genuine dialogue. And so in that aspect, there are certain characteristics of this behavior that are predominant, among anyone that exhibits passive aggression. So, one of the biggest things that passive aggressive people are chronic passive aggressors. Did I say welcome to How Not to Suck? I think I did. I said it the other day twice. Oh my gosh. Anyway, whatevs. I'm going to go with it. So one of their biggest traits is denial. Now, denial because they don't want to take responsibility. So this is huge with passive aggressive people. They want to blame others because they're unaware of the problems that they're causing. So they also like to kind of distort reality and rationalize and blame and make excuses and minimize. Good Lord, do they minimize? And sometimes they just flat out deny. So, anytime you approach them, you cannot just don't even expect to have an honest, open conversation with people that are chronic passive aggressive people. So it's going to be futile, trust me. And it's exasperating. It's exhausting. And you don't need that. I literally have no tolerance for passive aggressive behavior. However, in business and in life, you still have to deal with passive aggressive people. And my go-to would just be, I'm not doing it. Okay. Is that realistic? Probably not. Because that just, I don't know, doesn't solve much. But I'm going to give you a couple ways to deal with it. So another trait of passive aggressive behavior is, we have some comments. Hey, Candy. Oh, hey, Kevin. Yes, Kevin, choose happy. Kevin, what is squirrel? Are you calling me squirrel? God, I didn't realize it was so late, you guys. It's so late. Ugh, sorry. I turned around my office today, so it is kind of late. That's so funny. Kevin, if you're calling me a squirrel, I really would like to know, because it's probably super duper accurate. Another trait of passive aggressive behavior, and you guys, if you're watching this, if you have your own kind of like, I hate this passive aggressive kind of behavior, feel free to leave it in the comments. Join me, will you? Forgetting. So a lot of chronic passive aggressors like just choose to forget stuff. It's their way of saying, you cannot control me. And often it's just like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that. Did you? Did you forget it? Because you forget a lot of stuff. Rather than say no or address their anger, they just forget. Oh, good grief. Okay, another thing that they do, and this is something that I almost didn't want to talk about because I do this all the time. So I'm telling to myself, is procrastination. So I could put the pro in procrastination. Kevin, you said, did I say how not to suck? Yes, I did say it twice. Thank you, Kevin. Yes, such a squirrel moment for me. If I did it today, I probably did say it twice. And then I did it the other day and I was embarrassed when I watched the video and I was like, ugh, and I tried to edit it and it wouldn't. So I was just like hoping against hope that no one's going to watch that one. So yeah, thank you. Keeping me honest. So procrastination. So, okay, I'm terrible at procrastination. Like I said, I can put the pro in procrastinate, but with chronic passive aggressors, they avoid things like schedules and deadlines as a form of rebellion. Me, I do it out of I don't want to say laziness, but like I love a good deadline. And I mean, nothing makes me more productive than the last minute. A lot of that has to do with me being ADHD. So if I'm dealing with the last minute, it forces me to focus, like hyper focus. So a lot of that for me is the procrastination doesn't come from a place of passive aggressive behavior. I might procrastinate. I don't know through passive aggressive, but I don't think so. So a couple things that they'll do, like say if they're unemployed, for instance, they'll like drag their feet on looking for a job. Yeah, huge. That's a huge, huge, huge red flag. Another one is obstructing. So this is another nonverbal way of just saying no. So like, for instance, if you're saying, so where do you want to go eat? And they're like, I don't know. I'll just go wherever you want to go. Okay. How do we go to Chinese? Don't really feel like that. You just said you would go wherever I wanted to go. What movie do you want to see? Oh, I don't care. Whatever you want to see. And then you choose a movie. Oh, I don't really like that. Vacation, same thing. Good grief. Oh, here is my biggest. This is the biggest one for me is, oh my gosh, it's also one that's hard for me to pronounce. Sometimes I nail it, sometimes I don't. Ambiguity. Ambiguous. They are ambiguous. They are the most ambiguous people on the face of the freaking earth, and I cannot stand it. So here's the reason. They just hate to take a stand. Speaking of standing, great segue there, Dana. They don't say what they want. They don't say what they mean. So their behavior, though, does, which usually just means no. But they do this in the way of like circle talking. They'll do this in the way of I don't know, they getting you confused and changing subjects. And if you make plans, sometimes it's like, well, they'll also question, did I say this? I mean, they just have this way of giving the most ambiguous statements ever that make you realize, they can almost make you think, wow, they really committed to that. And like, actually, no, they did not. It is exasperating. So, but it's just, again, it's just a way to maintain control. So, and then they'll turn around and blame you for being controlling. Hashtag projection. Anyone? Nice little bowl of projection. Let's serve it up, but just don't be fooled. You know, when they get real ambiguous, or you get in this kind of like fog of ambiguity, you know, understand that there's ding, ding, ding. There's probably some passive aggressive behavior happening here that you need to be addressing. And one of the ways you can avoid that is just ask yes or no questions. If they try to, you know, skirt the subject or talk around it or be very vague and ambiguous, just yes or no will do. Just yes or no. Another one about passive aggressive people is they never seem to be angry. Like you never see them like really blowing up or showing a lot of anger and emotion, unless it's like they are a snap show. In which case, you know, it's like, it's kind of like if you've ever seen The Office, and stay with me here. Do you remember, if you have seen The Office, when Andy went a bit crazy and punched a hole in the wall? It was like when Jim took his phone and stuck it up in the ceiling, and it was playing twiddly, twiddly, dee, dee, dee. What's that song? Rockin' Robin, rock, 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 rockin' Robin. And Andy did like all the voices to it. And so anyway, so he punched a hole in the wall, and he's like, and everybody just kind of, and then he says, that was a bit of an overreaction. And then it shows him driving. Well, I am going to management training. Yes, anger management training, but still I'm going to nail this management training. Anyway. Okay. So, but they're never angry. So their only outlet is passive aggressive, oppositional behavior. And like I said, when they do get angry, because it has to come out somehow. If it's not coming out passive aggressively, they will just be like snap shows. Okay. Another thing is just being incompetent. So if you give them a task to do, a lot of times they'll just purposely not do it right, so that you end up having to take up the slack. Ugh. Honestly, kids are notorious for that. I don't know how to do the dishes, or I'm not going to do the dishes right so that you'll do them. No, you're going to do them right. Another thing, and I didn't even want to talk about this because I'm guilty of this too, but is lateness. Now, again, in my defense, in my passive aggressive defense, let's be in denial here, Dana. I do run late quite a bit. But it's not because I'm angry with people. It's because I'm time optimistic. If you don't believe me, that actually is a thing. It's called TIDS optimist. Look it up. Anyway, but basically they just sabotage. You know, it's just another form of rebellion. Another thing is negativity. Often passive aggressive people are very negative, and they can be like pouty and act angry and try to use their emotions to control you. They often feel like they're misunderstood, and they really they have a thing against authority figures. They think that they're not liked by authority figures, and so they'll like talk about them behind their back a lot of times. And they're very envious as well. So a lot of times with the negativity will come out in them just being very envious, but talking bad about the people that they're envying, right? Another one, and this kind of just rolls into that, is like playing the victim. Passive aggressive people are like victimhood that's their like thing, you know, that's their cloak, if you will. And their problems are always someone else's fault. And one of the things, like in this whole emotional intelligence, emotional wellness week, when you're dealing with unhealthy people, understand that many times their targets are actually very healthy, self-aware, smart people with a giving, caring heart. And the reason why is because they know that they can play on people's sympathy or their empathy. And also, if they're very self-aware, and they start gaslighting you, you'll most likely, if you're this type of person, if you're very self-aware and you're, intelligent and confident, you'll be like, did I do that? Did I? So if they can get you to question yourself, and the people that question themselves are usually the ones that are just like, meh, okay with being wrong. So victims, ugh, hate it. Another one is dependency, which I find is kind of interesting because, passive aggressives are, they're at their core, they don't want to be controlled, but yet they don't want to stand up and say they don't want to be controlled. They feel like everyone's controlling them. Okay. And they rebel against that control, yet they're very dependent. It's like just an oxymoron, just catch-22 here. Any other things I can say that would drive that home? So the thing is that also that they're really unaware of their dependence on people. And a lot of times, if you're in a relationship with someone that's passive aggressive, they can feel like a leech. They can feel like they're literally sucking the life out of you. But anyway, this behavior is basically designed to avoid responsibility for themselves, for their family, for whatever. And then finally, withholding. So one of the things that they do, passive aggressive people will do, is they'll withhold. They'll give you the silent treatment, or they'll withhold sex or affection or kind words. And that also comes back to the whole pouting and being angry and using their emotions to try to control you. They'll also sometimes withholding doesn't just mean like giving silent treatments, but it actually also means that sometimes they can just be like slamming doors and just honestly, grow up. So like I said earlier, one of the things that you can do with passive aggressive people is I would like to tell you that I would just say, no, I'm not dealing with you. And that would be amazing. If you have someone in your life that's passive aggressive and you can cut them off like that, 100%, I would do it in a heartbeat. But if it's somebody that you work with or you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, maybe it's an ex-spouse or something like that, one of the best ways to do it is ask yes and no questions. Don't get sucked into their, little delusional fantasies and where they try to get you in this ambiguous hamster wheel that you just simply can't get off. And that's what he said. And then, so yes or no questions, they'll try to get you off topic, but just stay on topic. And then another thing is that if you really have to deal with these people, when you're talking with them, try to make it a win-win situation. Always present things in a win-win. Listen, this is for your benefit and my, you know what I mean? Because they're inherently insecure and they have this sense that everyone's out to get them, especially you. And if you present things in a win-win, a lot of times that's one of the only ways that you can deal with them. But strap in and prepare to be utterly exhausted because it's not fun. And if you have people that it's your decision whether or not you hang out with them, and they are exhibiting this kind of behavior, maybe you didn't realize it was passive aggressive behavior until now. It's not healthy, guys. It's not healthy. You have to set healthy boundaries and be like, I'm not putting up with that. I love my oldest daughter. Obviously, I love my kids so much. But one of the things that she does I love it. If somebody's gaslighting her, she'll just be like, no, you're gaslighting me. I'm not putting up with that. And I'm like, oh, yes, I love it. So unfortunately, we can't all do that. But if you have an opportunity to, I say go for it. So that's how not to suck. That's how to deal with passive aggressive people. It's what to watch out for. Again, let me just go over them really quick. The ambiguity, if they're very ambiguous, if they try to just, always put obstructions in your way, procrastinators, if you feel like they're like the type of person that never ever gets angry, they're always just so easygoing. No, they're not. They're covert. They're aggressive. They're just showing their aggression in a passive way. So often they're negative. They play the victim. They seek independence, but they're just dependent. So, and they will, if you allow them to, they will latch themselves to you like a leech. Don't let that happen. Remember, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Good night, Candy. So anyway, be healthy. Don't suck. Until tomorrow. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in.